Good morning guys, welcome to part 2 of testing out braids. I've already done a part 1 video and I'll leave a link to that video in the video description. I suggest you go and watch that video because it's going to cover in more details how I'm testing these braids. I'm not going to cover in detail how I'm testing the braids today, as I've already done that. Today is going to be more about adding some more braids to the list and the results of those braids. So while I was in America, I picked up some Powerpro 80-pound braid. I got this in Bass Pro shops in Chicago, so I know that this is good stuff and not some of the copy stuff that sometimes hits the markets here in Asia. This should be the ultimate, the penultimate for 80-pound braid. So I'm going to test this out and see where this falls on our list. And I've got a couple more Chinese braids to add to the list. I've got this one called Proberos that was suggested to me in the last video that I tested it. Super cheap, this one. I've got another Manster W8, or as it's now called, Manster W8. As far as I know, it's exactly the same stuff, they just changed the name. Last time I checked this, tested this braid, I tested it in 80-pound strength, but it was quite thin at that. It was like 0.42 or something of a millimeter. So I've got myself the 100-pound strength, which is 0.5, and if you actually look at the PE ratings, this one is the 80-pound braid, but they've labelled it as 100 pounds. So there's something different going on between the diameter, the PE rating, and the poundage that they put on this braid. So I've got myself the 100-pound stuff, thinking that it's actually 80, and they've sort of overestimated. But anyway, we're going to give that a test as well. And I've got myself some Joff. I tested Joff last time, but I wasn't impressed with the weave of the braid. I never used that braid. If you held the braid and twisted it, it would open up. The weave wasn't tight, but I noticed that they've changed their manufacturing. Some people I know have been using Joff braid, and I thought I'd get myself a fresh roll of the new Joff braid, and it definitely is made differently, and give this a test. So I'm going to be testing it the same way. Again, go and have a look at the other video, but I've got this rig for testing the line strength. So the stress is put on the line and not the knot, and I can get a true line strength. I've got a vernier caliper that I'm using to measure the thickness, although I have to say all of these are the correct thickness, so don't waste your time with that. And then I'm going to be doing a knot strength test where I use the improved uni or the improved clinch knot twice through the eye of the swivel, come up to form the loop, wrap around the main line and the loop 10 times before moistening and pulling that down tight. So I'm going to test the true line strength, the knot strength using the best knot that I know of for braid, as tested by the guys from Strong, and I'm also going to measure the diameter. Hello guys, and welcome to the results. So while the Powerpro braid did come out on top, it is more expensive than the other braids, and I think there's some Chinese options here that are interesting, that are pretty much as strong and a fraction of the price. So go through the results. I've shrunk this table of results down so I can go through it a little bit faster. I'll put the full table at the end of the video. If you want to pause the screen and look at all of the tests and all the results, you're welcome to. But for making the video a little bit smoother, I've shrunk the screen down to just the information that I care about and I think you will care about. So starting with the Powerpro in 80-pound strength. It's at the top of the chart. It's the thinnest at 0.43 millimeters. Its knot strength was 67, we'll call it 68%. And its line strength was over 100%, 111% for its failed line strength. 960 baht for 300 meters of this braid. Whatever Powerpro are doing, they're doing something different from the Chinese. They have a thinner braid and a stronger braid. But the price is 960, 1,000 baht for 300 meters. And some of these Chinese braids aren't far off. I've tested 11 of the braids during this video and then the last video. I've got 6 braids in the I would use category and 5 in the steer clear category. So Ryoko's at the Powerpro's at the top. Next, number 2, I've got the Ryoko Sync in 80-pound, 68% for the knot, call it 98% for the line. Price of 740 baht for 300 meters. If you're in Thailand, you can get this braid. It's a sinking braid. It's very strong. If you're outside of Thailand, I don't believe you can get this braid. So then the Kasking Mega 8, 80 pound strength. This had the knot average at 66.55. We can call it basically 67. And the line at 91%. 347 baht for 300 meters. A good braid. I've been using this for a while. No complaints. The Manster or Manster W8 in 100 pound strength. But look at the diameter, 0.5 millimeters. If you look at the diameter of the Kasking Mega 8, 0.5 millimeters. I think Manster W8 have overestimated their braid with the poundage. Go off the diameter, buy the 100 pound thinking it's 80, and that's how I tested it. It's a good braid. So if you assume that it's 80, I tested it 66% for the knot and 104% for the line. So it came in over for the line if you view it as an 80 pound braid. 221 baht at the moment with a promotion on Lazada for 300 meters. A good braid. I'm going to be using this when the time comes. The new Joff. I didn't like the old Joff. The weave of the braid wasn't very tight, but the new Joff, they've changed their manufacturing process for sure. It's a different braid. 80 pound strength. It tests the knot at 59.7% and the line at 90%. 239 baht for 300 meters. And then the last braid in the sort of I would use category is the Kasking Superpower. That's the 4-weave option from Kasking. It failed with a knot at 58% and the line at 79, call it 80%. 161 baht for 300 meters. Now I go into the avoid braid. So I've got the old Joff, which when I say old, I'm going to say it's probably 3 or 4 years old at this point. You can't buy that anymore, so don't worry about it. The Proberos is super cheap. You can buy 100 meters of this, but if you times it by 3, because you have to buy 3 to get 300 meters, you're at 165 baht. Your Kasking Superpower is 161, and it's a better braid. So I wouldn't be buying the Proberos. It's also really rough. All 4-weave braids are rougher than 8-weave braids, but it is really rough. Then we get to the C-Night Manster W8 in 80 pound strength. It wasn't particularly strong if you tested it at 80, but if you realize that the line was a thin diameter, 0.4 mil. If you test it at 65 pounds strength, if you assume it's 65 pound strength, 66% average for the knot and 91.5% for the line. So like I say, with this braid you want to buy the one over. Go off the diameter, not the manufacturer's poundage rating. Spectra Extreme, not particularly strong when we did the test. And then ending with the, I'm going to kill the name, sougayilang braid. Not very strong, reasonably expensive. You can get better braids for the money. And just as a side note, Richard, you may have seen Richard in some of my videos. Richard did use this braid on his reel, on his rod, and I don't know how to explain it other than to say that the outside of the braid fluffed up. It became rough on the outside of the braid. Nothing to do with the reel, the rollers, or the eyes on the rod, and you just couldn't cast it half as far as you should have. He pulled that off. He pulled the sougayilang braid off. He put the Joff braid on, same rod, same reel. It hasn't fluffed up, so it's definitely nothing to do with the eyes on the rod or anything, and it's been working fine. So avoid the sougayilang braid if you can. These braids up here, the Powerpro, the Roco Sync, the Kasking Mega 8, the Manster W8, the new Joff, and the Kasking Superpower are the ones that I'm not going to have any problems recommending, and I will be using in the future. So, thanks for watching, and see you soon.